have the technology. We know the solutions. A global agreement is in place. It's now time to use your voice in the fight against the climate crisis. Join us for a journey around the globe as we focus on businesses, leaders, artists, and everyday people who are stepping up, speaking out, and fighting like our world depends on it. Because it does. This is 24 Hours of Reality. You too can be the voice of change, the voice of the future. Let your voice be the voice of reality.
And welcome. Hi, I'm Sam Champion. Thank you for joining us for 24 Hours of Reality. Be the voice of reality. The signing of the Paris Agreement just 2 years ago made it clear people all over the world actually understand the urgency of the climate crisis, and our leaders need to stay committed to fighting it. Now, while real progress is being made, more actually has to be done, and really faster, in order to limit the worst effects. That's why we all have to find our voice on the climate issue and fight for action. So travel with us tonight, this morning, today, wherever it is. We're about to have a gorgeous sunrise, so stay with us all over New York. As the former Vice President of the United States and founder of the Climate Reality Project, Al Gore leads us all the way around the globe. Now, we will be focusing on the powerful ways activists are speaking up to empower and change entire communities. We'll actually be shining a light on places where more climate voices need to be heard as well. For the next 11 hours, we'll be live from our New York City home base right here, the Bridge at Cornell Tech, which is one of the most environmentally friendly and energy efficient campuses in the world. It's a perfect home for us. We'll explore the solutions each region has at hand, the challenges they face, and how we can all be a voice of reality to succeed in ensuring a sustainable future. Now, for the next hour, we'll continue our journey by hearing from some of the powerful climate voices in Sub-Saharan Africa. And now, please join me in welcoming the man whose voice continues to lead the charge in educating and inspiring climate action all around the world. The founder and chairman of the Climate Reality Project, former U.S. Vice President Al Gore.
Thank you again, Sam.
It's so great to be here, sir.
I'm looking forward to that sunrise.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be gorgeous.
It really will be. And this hour, as Sam said, we're going to be talking about Sub-Saharan Africa. Last hour, you will remember we focused on North Africa and the Middle East. And in the hour following this one, we're going to broaden the focus on South Africa. But this hour is Sub-Saharan Africa, leaving South Africa for the next hour. A lot of impacts, a lot of challenges, a lot of great solutions emerging. Starting, as we always do, with a reminder of what is at stake and what we're talking about here, with three questions: must we change, can we change, and will we change? The answers to the first question involve some hard news, but the answers to the second and third questions are very inspiring. So, first question, must we change? Remember the true nature of the atmosphere as shown in this picture from the space station. The sky is not a vast and limitless expanse. It's a very thin, narrow shell of atmosphere around the planet. And we're using this as an open sewer right now, putting 110 million tons of man-made global warming pollution into the sky every 24 hours. It comes from a lot of different sources, including crop burning and burning of forests, mining, many activities. But by far the biggest source of man-made global warming pollution is the CO2 from the burning of fossil fuels, oil, coal, and gas. This huge increase in the concentration of heat-trapping gases in the atmosphere is heating up the planet and is responsible for this incredible increase in global temperatures everywhere in the world. In fact, 16 of the 17 hottest years ever measured have been since 2001. The hottest year of all was last year, the second hottest the year before, and the third hottest the year before that. We've seen the heat building up in Sub-Saharan Africa. It makes things uncomfortable. It creates the risk of heat stress. but then it does a lot of other things besides, and we're going to look at some of those, beginning with the fact that 93% of all this extra heat is going into the oceans. Half of this increase in this chart has occurred in the last 20 years, and the heat's going down into the depths of the ocean. As a result, we get the stronger ocean-based storms. Earlier this year, Cyclone Inawo killed a lot of people and affected hundreds of thousands of others in Madagascar. This extra heat in the oceans is also disrupting the water cycle, causing the evaporation of much more water vapor from the oceans into the sky, where the warmer air holds more of it. And when that air is taken by the prevailing winds over the land masses, we get these rain bombs, these incredibly large downpours. This summer, when so much attention was focused on Houston, Texas, with Hurricane Harvey, an incredible event, 100,000 people were displaced by flooding in Nigeria the exact same week. It's a global phenomenon. Last year, Nairobi, Kenya, had a rain bomb event, really an extraordinary flood. And this same extra heat that is evaporating the water off the oceans and causing the floods come from the downpours is also pulling the soil moisture out of the ground and making the droughts take hold more quickly and go deeper and last longer. And this has been a particular problem in Sub-Saharan Africa. In fact, the southern cone of Africa has been experiencing an extreme drought, and throughout many African countries, 8 Sub-Saharan African and also Middle Eastern countries are now, according to the United Nations warning last month, approaching famine with 30 million people at risk. I want to mention that the heat stress from higher temperatures has a harsh impact on food crops that are now, we know from the scientific studies, much more sensitive to heat stress than they had realized. All the food crops we rely on were selected by Stone Age women thousands of years ago, and they were optimized for the climate conditions of that time. Now we're seeing reductions in crop yields just from heat stress, leave alone some of the other consequences of the climate crisis. And this is the first time that I have brought up the topic of population, but it's important in every part of the world. China's population is stabilizing. India's population will soon be stabilizing. Africa is in a somewhat different situation. Many success stories in Africa, but there are many places where the birth rate is still extremely high, and there are reasons for this. Some of the rich countries have not followed through with promises for assistance with fertility management. We have to reduce child mortality more, educate girls, and empower women. But I cannot fail to mention this projected reality from the United Nations, because what it means is that by mid-century, the continent of Africa will have more people than the nation of China or the nation of India. And by the end of the century, we'll have more people than China and India combined. If this growing population is afflicted by lower crop yields and heat stress and some of the other consequences we've been talking about, that creates a situation that should call for our attention right now around the world. I want to mention sea level rise, because far north of Africa, this is a glacier in Greenland that's now gone, and these are the studies by NASA showing how quickly the ice mass has been disappearing in Greenland. Similar process underway, excuse me, underway in Antarctica, and this is raising sea level. We have seen in some parts of West Africa already some serious damage from sea level rise here on the coast of Senegal, and we see the health consequences of the climate crisis. We've seen tropical diseases spread, and we've seen air pollution problems from the co-pollutants that come from burning fossil fuels. create a situation in Nigeria, for example, where 94% of Nigerians are breathing air that exceeds the safe levels for concentrations of pollution. We saw this also in India and China and Iran and in some other places. The tropical diseases that I mentioned are moving to new areas. Air travel has something to do with this, but the wider ranges for vectors, as they call them, like mosquitoes and ticks, are creating serious health problems. We're seeing an extinction crisis, named by the biologists as the most serious part of this issue. So when you add all of these consequences up, it is abundantly obvious that the price of the carbon crisis is too high. It's also the #1 threat to the global economy. So clearly the answer to that first question, must we change, is yes. So let's get quickly to the second question. Can we change? Well, yes, because we have the solutions at hand. The projections years ago for wind energy have been greatly exceeded 16 times over. We're seeing Africa's wind energy capacity grow quite dramatically, leveling off in the last couple of years, but that's a temporary pause. Globally, wind could provide 40 times the electricity the entire global economy consumes. With solar, the projections 15 years ago were 1 gigawatt per year by 2010. We exceeded that projection 17 times over, and last year we exceeded it 75 times over. Africa's solar energy capacity is really taken off dramatically. We're seeing solar cells on the roofs of grass huts there in South Sudan, microgrid systems powering entire villages. Here is an installation underway in Ghana. And look at the projects in the pipeline now in Ethiopia. This is an incredible breakout scenario that we're seeing in many other regions. The Earth gets more energy from the sun in 1 hour than the entire global economy uses in a full year. Energy storage has been growing, but look at the projections for the future. It's really quite dramatic. LED lights are taking over the global lighting market. Auto manufacturers all around the world are switching to electric vehicles. So can we change? Yes, we definitely can. Will we change? Well, the United Nations got agreement from every single country in the world to go to net zero by mid-century or as soon thereafter as possible. So now it's time. Please join those who are using their voices to fight the climate crisis. Make your voice a voice of reality. Fight like your world depends on it, because actually your world does depend on it.
All right, sir. In just a minute, we're actually going to have a conversation with the executive director of the UN Environment Program. But before we talk to someone, I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you're saying, what you're thinking. And to do that, let's go over to activist and actor Calum Worthy.
Welcome to the Social Media Corner. If you've been with us the whole time, then welcome back. And if you're waking up on the East Coast, then hello, my name is Calum Worthy, and I'm your social media host for 24 Hours of Reality. The first post is from a gentleman named M, and he's in the Philippines. They're having a watch party, and they also have pizza made from sustainably sourced ingredients. Now, I'm not one to normally take a bribe, but I did say I would put this on the show if you would send me a slice of that pizza, because it looks delish. I'll DM the address afterwards. We also have Roshani. She's so dedicated, she is literally hugging a tree right now. And Roshani has some really cool friends, may even be her class. And they say, save trees, save our environment. If she is your teacher, she is pretty cool. Now, Kayla Chris, she said, 24 Hours of Reality is amazing so far, and she has been watching it all night, even though she has school tomorrow. And look, I'm not one to normally condone staying up on a school night, but this is the greatest challenge of our time, so I say it is well worth it. She wanted to prove that she's been staying up, so she actually sent us a selfie saying she just woke up, but I'm still watching 24 Hours of Reality, and it's amazing so far. Now, we are in Sub-Saharan Africa, so it only fits that we have a watch party from Africa Climate Reality Project. Now, they were anticipating this, and I actually want to see photos from this party. So send us a selfie, send us a group shot. I want to see what you guys are watching and where you are watching it. Carol said it's her dream to live in a 100% sustainable city. And that is a dream that I think we can all get behind. Jen sent us a great message saying people doing great things all around the world. Listen up, leaders. We demand change. And look, I've looked at Jen's Twitter and you do not want to mess with her. I think that we need to listen to her. So if you want to be on this broadcast, tweet hashtag 24 hours of reality. And you don't have to tweet it. You can also Instagram it or put it on Facebook. Back to you, Sam.
Each hour we've been sharing some inspiring solutions already in place around the globe. Now, these are stories of individuals or group taking action at the personal, business, community, or political levels. And these actions are having a real impact. So now let's head over to Ghana, where the women are leading the way toward a greener future.
Around the world, everyday people are stepping up, speaking out and fighting the climate crisis like our world depends on it. Because it does. Every voice makes a difference. These are the voices of change, the voices of the future, the voices of reality.
Na mahu se ewiem no esesa
enti sika kakra ekura wo no wo de kodo a na nsuo na anto a na ma wo sika ni nyina na ahye ekohye saa so a minua no ma asema me wo eka kire mo wiem asesa na de asesa hu a yehu ne saa ne se nkabra na yese nsuo ne to no ento ana bra ni se nsuo ne to no so ne nsuo na to Serbia yako pe bosia ene yade do efuo no a na ayeka ha e ma komdi.
Food crops have become very expensive in recent times. The women have had very serious impact. They've lost about 60% of their potential income. One of the old Ghanaian sayings is that if you train a man, you train one person. If you train a woman, you train a nation. Ashesia no baye afi aha abesin no yebeka no 100 years ago no. Ena Ghana nyina wuche mu mienu a ayekwa nkwa. Sesia de forest no achese ni aka no ye oha enchemu baye enum. Enti nia ese yeye ekroma no ese yeye yedi asase bi atotototo ho na yedua enua. This region is what we call the transitional zone. This place was initially covered with forest, and now this place is becoming savanna. And this is the cushion for the forest belt. The forest has the ability to absorb carbon. So if we lose this area, then the savanna will sweep quickly through the forest regions. So we decided to start here so that we can maintain the cushion to the forest belt.
Yokuani ni nuaba medua na wo mafuom ni se banche bode menkin enom saa no na medua yesi ankane no ye na ema ye fu no na ye do na ya hye nene no de ye nya ne saa bi ya ye nya ne saa ne se na ye do ne saa ye do ana ya mawura no apro wa asase no so na ye dua ye no ba ye no nti no boaye ama ye niema no ekoso nti sa na ye hye ana ye be pompe no de.
We are in one of the farms that is practicing agroforestry as introduced to the group. And agroforestry means mixing agriculture with forestry. Here we have plantain, which is a very popular staple food for the Ghanaian people. It needs shade to grow. Formerly, you have to construct a hut and cover the plant. But now, as the concept of the agroforestry, you just need to allow the tree crops to provide the environmental function. Combining the agriculture with the forestry the community will have both environmental functions and then the economic functions. The international drive for export of timber really contributed to the destruction of the forest because most of the timber companies were foreign companies. And these foreign enterprises had very huge machinery that paved the way in the forest for the farmers also to go in. As a consequence, agricultural activities also increased.
The Ebebuayan say, Yabakosua Edria Enuaba. Enuana Ebeduana Babua Ama, Ewiemu Ejina.
Na nuaba no so de meyɛ no so ɛdɔs if you say nua no omo che operators for no mabu nua no nyina nti sɛ yɛ nua bi anhya anamu a ebeduru emire bi no na Ghana wo pedua wunya ɛno nya na yɛ me ani ka sɛ me pese medua nti enyina edi be 3 months ya ɛne enyini nti na ya befa when you be a or bass or better now, a befa, like I say, what you call a rhythm now, a good year. Emma, a Nigia, and Ayana, Mamina, and Nigia and Casa.
I personally do this work because I have a passion for agriculture and I learn from women. Women are focal points of change when you come to a family. When we empower women in the family, that change is sustainable.
Your money and an animal mobile. Can I know, dear? Nami was sruby and my woman. And so now, and Namon Titi and the pine for fra. Who will be the and fat quaidi and fast wintino. Emma, and the canis run an army one and a coffin.
School from your bar say, if a chum say, for Diana, my Diano, and a Bruno, Moody, and the Iber Pim, Nanka, Diano, I'm an assassin, I come.
We want this program to be able to sustain itself. We don't want it to continue to be a Friends of Dead project. We want it to be owned by the people and spread the message and the knowledge to other communities that have not been able to take part in the project.
Dachibino, ye ni wo mpo ayemma no obubahunu se yenso ye dwumadie bi a aboama omoso asetene momo ho ato wo mo ewo nuaba a edua ananua no nanso migidi se ye tokoso eye a beboa ama ensesa nyina aba Ghana nyina.
These are the voices of change, the voices of the future, the voices of reality.
While we are focusing on Sub-Saharan Africa this hour, I would like to acknowledge an important meeting taking place right now in Nairobi, Kenya, where the United Nations Environment Assembly is being attended by heads of state, CEOs, activists, and scientists to discuss and make global commitments to environmental protection. Thanks to all of you for your important work on the climate crisis, and thank you to our esteemed guests who are taking the time from that meeting to join us remotely from Nairobi.
And as a matter of fact, we're going to go there right now. Indeed, the United Nations Environment Assembly is the world's highest level environmental forum. Now, this year it's being held in, as Vice President Gore just said, Nairobi, Kenya, where Erik Solheim, the Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program, joins us now via satellite. Welcome, Erik. How are you? Nice to see you.
Very, very good to see you. Hello to the United States. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. A big portion of UNEP's work involves assisting developing countries in kind of putting in place sound, sustainable environmental practices. And of course, that's directly linked to climate crisis. So I'm hoping you might share with us some of the work that's being done in Sub-Saharan Africa and the unique challenges that's faced in that region.
In the Environment Assembly this year we are focusing on the pollution. That's of course also because nearly whatever we want to do to curb pollution is also helpful for climate change and vice versa. If we phase out coal, if we move into the fantastic renewable energy models of solar and wind, it'll be very helpful for fighting pollution, but it's also very helpful for climate change at the same time. So we are working with governments all over Africa to make that transformation as fast as possible. Added as an example here in Kenya, we're working with the government of Kenya on geothermal energy. Kenya is a world leader in renewable energy, and geothermal is a big part of that. And if you allow me another example, in the two Congos, they just discovered a huge new peatland. Fantastic amount of carbon is stored there. If they were to be released, it will be similar to 20 years of American emissions. So we need to keep it there, and we are working with the governments for that to happen.
Now, we all know that a changing climate can really exacerbate social and political instability. I'm hoping you can tell us how the two might be connected and the unique challenges that might present.
Somalia, I think, is a prime example. 1 million people have over the last year moved into the big cities of Somalia. That's happening because of the terrorism of the Al-Shabaab terrorist group. It's happening because of the war, but it's mainly happening because of climate change and the drought. Yeah. Because all these come together, wars, terrorism, and a climate-enforced drought, it's hard to distinguish, and you need to find a solution both to the peace and security and the environment issues, and we really need to merge these together in one solution.
Now, since the signing of the Paris Agreement, we have seen some real momentum, I guess, from countries in their wanting to get on board and take climate action. Can you give us a sense of where things stand right now in the terms of the agreement and how it's moving forward?
Yeah, I think the climate convention in Bonn 2 weeks back was an enormous success. It was the first meeting of the world after Trump decided to take the United States out of the climate convention, and every other nation on planet Earth gathered to take us forward. China, India, Russia, Europe, Africa, Latin America. There was no nation following the example of the United States. So this was really reassuring, and maybe as important, all the main iconic companies of modern economy, all the Apples and Microsofts and Amazons and Googles of this world, also the Americans, all decided we want to go green. So I think at the end of the day, historical judgment may be that this really made the world more encouraged.
Yeah, it seems that that's happening. And you touched on it a little bit, but despite the U.S. intending to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, and that can't even happen until the next presidential election, a day after we seat the next president, we've seen a lot of companies reaffirm their commitments, a lot of U.S. companies to staying the course, going green. So tell us about that, how the United States companies are really stepping in.
I think that is enormously inspiring because let's be honest. I mean, we have achieved quite a lot by the negotiating process in Paris and other places, but the real change is happening in the world outside. Citizens pushing politicians and business for action. It's political leadership by China, India, and others. But at the end of the day, it's mainly about business finding new and better technologies, and that's what we see happening. Microsoft came to Bonn with major promises. Walmart, American company, setting up solar panel. Of course, iconic companies like Tesla have not just announced that they will soon make a car you can make 600 miles on one charging.
Yeah, that's pretty phenomenal. Now, I'm excited to actually see that car on the road. Now, surely these big companies investing in renewables, they're not just doing it.
I would love to drive it for sure.
Then I'll take a ride with you. They're not just doing it because they believe in environmental issues, I guess. Are they going green because it's financially beneficial now, today, and will be in the future?
Absolutely, and isn't that fantastic? I mean, what's wrong in the world is because that it's possible to make profits while making the most horrendous weapons, or profits destroying the planet. If we can make profits and jobs providing for a better Mother Earth, I mean, it's fantastic. We should do more of it. And by the way, in the United States of America itself, there's 5 times more jobs in the solar than in the coal economy. Why do we accept someone fooling us into believing that we need to cling to coal for the jobs? It's in the new economy all the fantastic new expiring jobs are.
Yeah, we've just been talking about all the jobs around the world that can actually be created by being more sustainable. Now, to what extent is the UN working with the private sector in tackling the crisis, and how might this work or evolve in the future?
We are stepping up day by day, working much more with the private sector, basically on all continents. I mean, in China, India, United States, Europe, Africa. We are partnering with the private sector for their outreach to people. Let me give an example. I mean, we are partnering with a Chinese company called Ants Financial. They have 450 million customers on the cellular phone platforms and reaching out to millions of people with environment information. Let's also call it, because we cannot bore people into action, environment entertainment, setting out to people in China what they need to do, doing tree planting. It's a fantastic way through the private sector to reach out. And of course, at the end of the day, private sector also need to transform our lives into climate friendly.
Yeah, I'd love to see that tree planting going on all over the world. From your unique position, what are some of the worst climate issues that people face right now? And how do their everyday lives actually, in their everyday lives, how can they work to tackle them?
2017 is a really paradoxical year, because on one hand, Mother Earth is hitting back. I mean, you have seen cyclones in the Caribbean, in Houston, Texas, big floodings in India and Bangladesh, enormously devastating droughts in places like Somalia. So we see the consequences of climate change. Mother Earth is hitting back. At the same time, you see China, India, fantastic companies in the United States moving ahead towards the green economy. So we are on the right track, we're moving in the right direction, but Mother Earth hitting back must teach us we need to step up. It's urgent, we need to speed up.
And Erik, I wanted to double back just a bit on the U.S. Can you give us a sense of where things stand right now in terms of the agreement? And despite the U.S. Pulling out, did it create a vacuum, or did other countries rush in? Have we seen people, really step up? Corporations step up? Independents step up? What's been going on since that announcement was made?
Let me first of all give credit to the Trump administration that both in Bonn in the Climate Convention and the week after in Montreal, where we discussed how we can really make the air conditioning systems of the world and the refrigerators more energy efficient and better, and by that save half a degree of warming. The United States played ball, did nothing to make havoc or problems, so that was very reassuring and positive. But adding to that, obviously private sector companies like all the iconic companies, Apple, Google, Amazon, Starbucks, all of them are moving in the right direction. And adding to that, the global political leadership we need is provided by Europe, Germany, France, European Union, by China and by India. So I think there is every ready to be optimistic, but at the same time, let's not be lazy. We need to move very fast.
You just talked about optimism but not being lazy. Let me ask you this. What are you most optimistic about when it comes to tackling these issues on the climate crisis?
If you ask me to mention just one, it's the fact that 3 years back, coal was still much cheaper than solar and wind. I mean, everyone knows that solar and wind is much better for our health, much better for the environment. but people could still argue, since coal is so cheap, we need to do it. Now the price of solar and wind can compete with coal everywhere on the planet for new installations, and then we see a very, very fast turning into that economy. As an example, the United Kingdom just announced a solar plant in Kent, which will power 110,000 households just from that one solar plant. Going to India, they have the first all of solar airport. Moving on to China, they just launched the first hydrogen metro. One Chinese airline just went from Beijing to Chicago with 15% biofuel. So a lot of positives, but the most important is the fact that solar and wind can compete with coal.
Yeah, and that's been an incredible thing to hear, and we've been talking about it even in this program. Erik Solheim, the Executive Director of the United Nations Environment Program, a man who is right in the middle of this 24/7, and certainly the guy to go to for questions and answers. Thank you so much, Erik, for spending some time with us from Nairobi. We appreciate it greatly.
Thank you to the U.S. Thank you.
Each year, 24 Hours of Reality brings the world together for one full day to talk about the climate reality of the climate crisis and how we can solve it. So today, you can actually become a citizen producer of this live broadcast right here, right now, and have your name appear in the closing credits. Everybody will see it roll by with all the other producers. So it just takes a gift of $50. Don't miss your chance to support this world-changing event. Visit www.24hoursofreality.org/donate. Donate, the important word there, $50 by noon Eastern Time. And you'll see your name in the closing credits at the end of this very show. Now, let's head back over to Calum Worthy, because while we've been talking, you've been talking, we want to know what you've been saying. Calum, what's up, man?
Well, welcome back to the social media corner of 24 Hours of Reality. And in case you're just joining us, I want to show you something. This is our heat map. And any place that you see that's all, lightened up, you'll see that that is where a lot of people are using the hashtag 24 Hours of Reality. Now, if you use hashtag 24 Hours of Reality on your social media platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, there is a chance we could put your post up on this broadcast and you could be a part of our incredible show. So why don't we check out some of the posts that we've been looking at since we last saw you. Now, David in Nigeria, he is actually just coming out of a press conference to ban coal in Nigeria. And, that is an amazing accomplishment if you can achieve that. So please let us know and keep us informed in terms of how that is going. Now, Lindy says she is hard at work in Cape Town watching hashtag 24 Hours of Reality. So thank you so much, Lindy. And Luca is giving a climate change presentation. I'm just throwing it out there. I bet he is a climate reality leader. We also have Cambridge. They're saying that every little change can make a huge difference. We have more control than we think. That is so true. Now, of course, the unsung heroes of the climate movement are our pets. And when I asked you to send in some selfies of yourselves watching 24 Hours of Reality, we saw some very fun photos, including this one, where Carolina said that she is watching hashtag 24 Hours of Reality with her dog, Marley. And there's a big debate here at 24 Hours of Reality because we were wondering, is that a Great Dane? Is it a Dalmatian? And we got the answer. It is a Dalmatian. So thank you so much, Carolina. We also have one here. And she said that Moose is watching 24 Hours of Reality, and Moose is also looking for some climate hope right now. So I think we need to have a climate reality training program where we get all the pets together and they can learn how they can teach their other feline friends about climate change. Now, of course, Christine said, my day off work means I get to watch my man Calum Worthy, hey, that's me, doing such an amazing job. Well, first of all, thank you so much. That means the world to me. And we're so proud of everyone here who's been doing such an incredible job. We've been staying up for a long time, and we have a little bit of ways to go, and we're looking forward to the next few hours. We have someone saying, watching hashtag 24 Hours of Reality as a chemical engineering graduate, and they're looking forward to working on this issue. Now, if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can use hashtag 24 Hours of Reality. And as soon as I'm off this stage, myself and the other producers are going to be online looking for more posts. Let's look and see what else we got. Kathleen Runas says, choosing is a freedom, speaking is an action, but ignoring is a crime. I like that a lot. I'm going to retweet that right after this segment. We have VIU community. They said, here we are, hashtag be the voice of reality with VIU. And we got one more over here. It says, ice does not care about politics. It just melts. And that is so true. So as I said before, use the hashtag 24 hours of reality. And I'm on social media this entire time. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you want to see if you can get your post up here, just use the hashtag 24 hours of reality. Now, we're also looking for watch parties as well. If you're with a group of people watching somewhere, please take a photo. If you're by yourself, take a selfie. Send it using hashtag 24 hours of reality, and we may put it right up here. And we've had some amazing people that have also been watching for the entire broadcast. They've been watching for 13, 14 hours and have been along this whole journey with us. That to me is remarkable. There's a girl named Paris who I saw on social media who said that she's been watching for, I think, 13 hours so far, which is amazing. A girl named Kelly as well has also been watching for, I think, almost 14 hours. To me, that is, it means the world to me. I just want to say thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's been tweeting and posting on Instagram and posting on Facebook. And we will be right back. Thank you so much. Also, remember, hashtag 24 hours of reality. And there is a chance that you could be up on this board right here.
The climate crisis has hit home with devastating effect, disrupting people's lives and livelihoods everywhere. At the Climate Reality Project, we're empowering people across the planet to become powerful forces for change, fighting for climate solutions at every level of society. We train citizens to become climate reality leaders, dynamic activists who train and work with former U.S. Vice President Al Gore and field-leading experts to mobilize their communities for action. Around the world, our branch offices and local chapters bring climate reality leaders and concerned citizens into the fight for a sustainable future. Like in Brazil, where our activists pushed government leaders to ratify the Paris Agreement in the midst of political turmoil. Or in India, where grassroots efforts helped train 3,000 teachers on the climate crisis. Our 100% Committed campaign gives people a voice in their energy future, encouraging cities like Park City, Utah, and schools like Colorado State University to commit to 100% renewable electricity. And each year, our 24 Hours of Reality broadcast invites millions to join an all-star cast of musicians, celebrities, thought leaders, and more as we direct the world's attention to protecting the planet we all share. Today, as the United States begins a process to withdrawal from the historic Paris Climate Agreement, this work takes on heightened urgency. Now more than ever, we've got to fight like our world depends on it, because it does. Join us as we make our voices heard, as we demand that our leaders take action, and together, we'll make a bright and sustainable future a reality.
Now let's go back to Nairobi. Dr. Richard Munang is the Africa Regional Climate Change Program Coordinator. He also joins us via satellite, live from the UNEA in Nairobi, Kenya, to discuss how climate action can improve food security, create jobs, and boost economic growth in Africa. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Munang. It's a pleasure to have you here on the show. Right now, the world is facing the largest humanitarian crisis probably since the UN was concepted. Nearly 30 million people are facing famine starvation. So why is it that Africa stands out as one of, if not the most vulnerable continent facing the climate crisis?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the 24 Hours Reality. This is a very crucial time, and I would like to start off with an African proverb, which if you tell a hungry child that you gave him or her food yesterday, definitely that will mean nothing to that child. What this means is that fundamental needs are non-negotiable. And if you look at the African continent today, agriculture is actually one of the crucial sectors that is not only providing food, but at the same time sustaining livelihoods. And 65% of the entire continent workforce depends on the agricultural sector. And agriculture is also the climate-sensitive sector.
Yeah.
It therefore implies that with the changing climate today, which is already visible, this sector is already impacting millions of people.
Now, we've seen frequent droughts and actually floods, and they've impacted that agriculture you're just talking about and even infrastructure there in Africa. How have these extreme events been affecting the people where they're living? And let's talk about the poorest who are affected most.
Well, the changing climate is no longer an abstract issue, and the impacts are visible across the African continent today. On the 4th of August 2017, the mudslides in Sierra Leone was a glaring example of these impacts, whereby Freetown received almost 300% the amount of rainfall that it's been receiving. That is part of the extreme events that have been escalated by the changing climate, down to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the mudslides actually killed 200 people, down to Nigeria, where 100,000 people were displaced, and right to Eastern Africa, where we have Kenya and East Africa today. 25.5 million people are under siege as a result of drought, and almost about 3.5 million children are suffering acute impacts of malnutrition. So this is already showing that people are suffering, but more importantly, what is happening is that the changing climate is already pushing people to the wall and causing so many to seek sanctuaries in countries not their own. So what is important at the moment is to move from decisions to action, and this is already happening across the continent today, whereby, for example, if you take Sierra Leone, bringing different ministries, the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Energy have put what we call interagency task forces to be able to help decentralize clean energy like solar to areas where there is agricultural production, to be able to ensure that value is added to what is being produced.
We were just talking about extreme events like drought, famine, flooding, all happening in same areas. And you had mentioned that it forced some people to leave their communities, even their countries, and go into other communities and countries. So do those extreme events lead to more political and social instability, I guess is the question.
Absolutely, because in 2016, there was a study that reviewed 55 scientific journals, and the link between climate change and conflict was clearly established, though it was not directly, it was indirectly linked, where food shortages result to people moving to areas where they can find food, where water shortages, where flooding as a result of extreme events result to people moving to areas where they can find food. And more importantly, the illegal migration from the African continent today, especially youth, crossing the Sahara into Europe and also dying across the Mediterranean Sea, has actually been established that 70% of those youth who are living as a result of poverty, and more so with the changing climate, which is going to affect the agricultural production in the African continent up to about 40% if the world was to hit 2 degrees. And as we're speaking today, the world is at 1.1 degrees.
Yeah.
It means that the movement of people to seek sanctuaries in places not their own will escalate, and definitely there is going to be a conflict.
Now, if we ignore the signs of climate crisis and fail to act, what personal and economic challenges would Africans then face?
Well, the changing climate, though it's impacting Africa's abundant areas like agriculture, is also providing an opportunity economically, because if you look today, in as much as Africa have 65% of uncultivated arable land, in as much as Africa have abundant sunshine, 365 days a year with sunshine, where 0.3% of the sunshine that comes through in the Sahara that can light the entire Europe. All these untapped potential have not actually been actualized from potential to reality. And as we're speaking today, the continent is losing $48 billion as a result of inefficiency in the entire agro value chain because of post-harvest losses. So the economic opportunity that comes is agricultural production cannot be done in silos. Under the changing climate, clean energy, solar needs to be used to add value, because if you look at the agricultural sector, only 10% of what is produced is added value to. So 90% gets away without value addition. And that is the way that economies could be driven, by ensuring that adding value to what is produced can reverse the 48 billion US dollars that have been lost as a result of inefficiencies in the system. And that could also generate the jobs that are needed for the 10 million youths that get into the workforce every year. So overarchingly, the changing climate also provides an opportunity to start looking at these sectors, which we call them catalytic sectors. That is, clean energy and agricultural production cannot be seen as silos anymore. It must be speaking to one another, where clean energy helps to drive value addition and lowers emissions, and at the same time provide economic opportunities like jobs and add more money to people's pockets.
Now, you already started talking about it. The next question I wanted to go to were some of the exciting possibilities that exist. Tell us how bringing that reliable, clean power to millions of Africans who don't have access to power right now might actually provide some exciting opportunities in these areas.
The opportunities are scattered across all the continent, but the most important thing is that to bring these opportunities to scale, there needs to be a different way of premising climate action, which is to permit climate actions as an investment opportunity, as a solution to socio-economic challenges like addressing issues of poverty, addressing issues of food insecurity, addressing issues of job creation for the youth. So premising climate action as an investment opportunity needs a framework. And that framework that brings everyone together, that brings individual citizens, that bring the private sector, that bring policymakers, that bring non-state actors like civil society, like NGOs. And the UN environment has already created a framework called the Ecosystem-Based Adaptation for Food Security Assembly, abbreviated BAFOSA, which is now domesticated across 40 countries in the African continent. And the intent of this is not just to talk about action as action, but action that also benefits from policy. So what is happening at the strategic level is that countries are setting up interministerial task forces where the Ministry of Agriculture policies reconcile with the Ministry of Energy policies, reconcile with the Ministry of Finance policy to create an enabling environment to decentralize climate action. And for example, right here in Kenya, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Energy, and the Ministry of Information Communication Technology, as a result of putting policies together, have decentralized clean energy through what is called COPA to more than 400,000 citizens across Eastern Africa today. And what this is doing is that the policy has created an enabling environment where the energy enterprises from the private sector, the information communication technology from the private sector is providing this.
Sorry. Because we had the technical issues, we've run out of time in the hour, and we were getting to a great point. But thank you so much for being with us, and we certainly appreciate your time.
Climate change is our biggest challenge yet. The world's getting warmer, seas are rising, and our weather is getting more and more dangerous. Our planet's future is in our hands. We must and can act and lead the fight to a clean energy future. All across the planet, climate reality leaders are doing just that. They're inspiring people to stand up and take action when it matters. You can join them, become a climate reality leader, and learn what it means to lead a world-changing movement. You'll train with former Vice President Al Gore and some of the best scientists and influencers out there. You'll learn the latest on climate science and solutions, and learn how to share it with a message that moves audiences to act. You want to make a difference? Become the world changer you know you can be. Become a climate reality leader.
Over the last hour, we've spent some time getting to know some of the challenges faced by people in Sub-Saharan Africa and the many ways people are taking action toward a more sustainable future. Remember, the most powerful warrior in the fight against the climate crisis is you. And there are a lot of ways we can make a difference in our politics, our communities, our businesses, and actually in our very own lives. So go to 24hoursofreality.org to get your climate action kit. And you'll learn a lot about becoming a climate reality leader and other ways you can become the voice of reality.